Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel and also welcome to my 5th episode. I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It may not look like I am, but I really am because it is part of my baseline. It is something that I display on and offline. And if you're someone that's trying to cultivate more discipline, I hope that it adds value on your journey. That's enough pleasantries. Let's just get into the topic at hand. A lot of people think that they're disciplined. But you're only disciplined in areas that don't cost you anything, right? And I don't say that to be harsh. I say it because most of the time, people don't test their discipline. Because discipline doesn't reveal itself in routine. It doesn't reveal itself when the foundation is laid out and made easy. It reveals itself in the presence of something that you truly want. And that's where people lose it. A lot of times people may think that they're disciplined, but their environment is controlled, right? They go to the gym, they eat clean, they go to work, they take care of their responsibilities. And in their mind, that is them being disciplined, fully even, right? But that's structure, that's routine, that's predictable. And I'm not dismissing that because those aspects matter. Being disciplined in areas like going to work and being, disciplined when it comes to working out and eating clean and taking care of your responsibilities, paying your bills, cooking and cleaning, those things matter. But let's be honest, that version of being disciplined is not being challenged because nothing in those environments asks you to betray yourself. I was having a conversation with one of my sisters, Anne, and we were having a conversation about discipline. And not discipline in the gym, working out, fitness, but discipline in life. And something I said to her, given an example, was like, you can have a woman who has a tight ship. She runs a tight and strict program. I mean, this woman is disciplined in her career. She's disciplined in her finances, in her home, in her routine, in her interpersonal relationships. But then she meets a man. And all of a sudden, her standards start shifting a little bit, or her boundaries soften up a little bit. And the discipline that she once has becomes negotiable. And usually women like that, it's not because they don't know any better. It's not because they want to relinquish the level of discipline that they've cultivated over the years that adds to their success, but because they desire the man. And men do this too. It's not just women. People do the same thing in general, right? And when you think about discipline that only exists when it's convenient is not discipline. It's preference. And this is where I have to separate myself a little bit. Because I've had opportunities, real opportunities that on paper made a whole lot of sense, opportunities that anybody would take it and not think twice. But I turned them down, not because they weren't good opportunities, not because I feel like I was above these opportunities, but when I looked at these opportunities, when I carefully observed these opportunities, I realized that it didn't align with who I am. It didn't align with my ethics. It didn't align with my standards. It didn't align with how I choose to move. And so turning those opportunities down proves rather difficult, even though I did, because sometimes the consequence to saying yes to an opportunity isn't immediate damage, isn't even damage at all in some cases. But on a micro level, it's subtle misalignment. And most people will accept subtle misalignment as long as it's subtle. And I won't, and I haven't. And I will continue to turn down opportunities that don't align because I don't see that as me embodying truly what it looks like to be disciplined. And you can apply this to people, right? Even in romance, I've had men who are attractive, who have money, who have some assets that will benefit me, some qualities that, can complement me. But I can already see upon observing them that they don't have the range, whether it be cognitively, whether it be energetically, they don't have the depth. They may not even have the long-term alignment. And instead of seeing where things go, or instead of entertaining these men for short-term benefit, I ended early or I rejected their advances, because at the end of the day, I'm not interested in partial alignment or even subtle misalignments. And naturally, in my personality, knowing who I am as a person, I don't wait for things to fall apart. I use my discernment. I use the discernment that God gave us. And I use that discernment to determine whether something aligns with me or not, whether a person aligns with me or not, whether an environment aligns with me or not. And the reality is, people don't struggle with being disciplined because they can't be disciplined. People struggle with being disciplined because it's hard to apply it in every aspect of their life, right? There are areas where people prefer to be flexible, where they may prefer to indulge, where they may prefer to enjoy, to go with the flow without overthinking, right? And we justify it as a collective. We say, well, I really like him, I really like her, or this opportunity makes sense, or it's not so bad. But discipline doesn't operate on not so bad. Discipline operates on alignment. And you can also apply this with friendships, right? You can have two people who are growing apart, going in different, paths. And because they've been friends, sometimes people see that growing apart and want to stick to the friendship more, right? They prefer to stay in that dynamic because it's easy to be in something that you're familiar with, as opposed to letting it go and allowing it to flow the way it should. And people do this, but that's not discipline. That's comfort. And I'll say this because I'm someone that cultivates my discipline on a daily basis. And I wanted to add a practical way to cultivate discipline. And one thing that's actually helped me become more disciplined, and I'm able to apply this discipline in all aspects of my life, is fasting. Not for weight loss, not for aesthetics, but spiritually. And I grew up in a family where my parents have strong faith, right? I've watched my mom fast, and I've adopted fasting through watching my mom. I've adopted fasting through the church. I've adopted fasting through being exposed to different expressions of faith. Christian fasting, Catholic fasting, Catholic practices, like giving things up for Lent, right? I went to Catholic schools growing up, so I was exposed to Lent and what Lent entailed. And also observing my Muslim friends and how they approach fasting. Different structures, same principle. You are practicing denying yourself something that you want when you fast, when you do it intentionally. And your relationship with desire changes. You don't let it control you in the same way as you continue to cultivate your discipline through fasting. You don't feel the need to say yes to something that you want, right? And when it comes to real life, when it comes to a person, when it comes to an opportunity, when it comes to an environment, I don't see it as a loss when I deny myself, when I deny access, giving access to someone to be in my life, when I deny an environment, when I deny an opportunity. I don't see it as a loss. I see it as alignment. And this is why it is actually difficult to be disciplined. Not because it's impossible, but because it requires you to deny yourself. It requires you to say no to something that you want. And that is what makes it difficult for a lot of people. Because when you want something, even when you're praying for something, and you have the opportunity to get it, sometimes you don't want to think about if it aligns. You don't want to think about, well, what does it look like when I accept this opportunity a few years from now? You don't want to think about the future. You don't want to tap into foresight. You want to get what it is that you've been desiring. And there's nothing wrong with wanting things, but to be disciplined and to be free, you have to learn to deny yourself. You have to learn to not say yes to everything, right? You have to learn that discipline in one area, but it's lacking in another area, it doesn't align. You have to really apply it in all areas. So I want to leave off with saying, you don't measure discipline by what you can control. You measure it by what you choose to walk away from. That is really the only way you can start to practice being more disciplined. And I will urge you to practice being disciplined in areas that you see yourself caving in. And if it's romance for you, then practice cultivating more discipline in being selective in who you allow to come into your life romantically. Well, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if this resonates with you, let me know below in the comment section. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like the things that I'm talking about. And like I said, I was very excited to share this topic, and I hope that it gave you value. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.